Soul is deeper and higher than intellect. Intellect is a limited system. And even there are even aspects of the soul. I'm not even talking about of the soul, it is mamash God, godly. Okay, so the evening tonight is the eve of Yud Beis Adar, and we are learning an article from Rabbi Yoel Kahn alav shalom on Purim. And when we are seeking to understand the special topic, the special inyan, the special content, and the nature of the holiday, we can do it by reflecting on the special mitzvahs of this holiday, in which the tochen of the Chag comes through. Also, we can reflect on the name of the holiday. And just as the special mitzvahs that are unique to every Chag express its tochen, its content, so too the name of every holiday also express the mahus of the Chag, that we know that the name of everything indicates and shows on the inner meaning of that object or subject. Benogea Purim, regarding Purim, we find a dvar pele, sigh in the name of the holiday, and sigh as well as the mitzvahs. How so? One of the mitzvahs that the Chachamim established to remember the Nes is the mitzvah of Mishteh, of the feast that we have to have on Purim. And by the way, it is called not Seuda, not a meal feast, rather a Mishteh, a drinking feast. And this mitzvah, from one aspect, is really connected mostly, more than others, to the mahus of this Chag, more than other mitzvahs. Why? Because it applies on the entire day. The mitzvah, how so? The mitzvah of reading the Megillah, for instance, is not connected to the entire day. We have a mitzvah, a chiyuv, to read the Megillah one time at night and one time in the day. Even the mitzvah or the mitzvos of matanos la'evyonim, giving charity to the gifts to the poor, that the Rambam says that we should do a lot in that, increase in that, is also not connected to the tochen of the Chag the entire 24 hours. But the obligation of mishteh, of having this drinking feast, is not only that you should make sure that throughout the day you should have this mishteh, you should have this meal, this feast, but the entire day of Purim is called Yom Mishteh, a day of drinking feast. And really, if you want to translate literally, a day of drinking. So from this is understood that even though Bepoal, we only fulfill the mitzvah of Mishteh Purim for a few hours, couple of hours. You sit down to eat, and you make l'chaim, and you do the mitzvah. Nevertheless, the entire day becomes Yom Mishteh, a day of Mishteh. To be more particular, explains Rabbi Yoel, that the gather of the mitzvah, this mitzvah of Mishteh is, please mute yourselves, ladies, is that it applies on every moment of the day. Thank you. That's number one. Meaning that this mitzvah applies on every moment of the day. Number two, the special uniqueness of the mitzvah of Mishteh is not in kamus alone, in quantity. That the chiyuv is not only on part of the day, but throughout the day. Rather, and mainly, that this mitzvah is not, how shall I say, just that it is, it's not just that there is a mitzvah that we should do in that day, and that's the mitzvah of Mishteh. Rather, that this is the mahus of the entire day. All the other mitzvahs, there is Purim, and in this Purim you have to do shalach manos, you have to read the Megillah, and you have to give matanos la'evyonim. But in the case of Mishteh, it's not that it's the Mishteh is a mitzvah that you do in the day. The whole day is a day of Mishteh.
But Chana, why do you say that more than, let's say, tzedakah?
Because
Tzedakah.
Chazal call it Yom Mishteh, not Yom Tzedakah. Hilchos Megillah, Perek Beis. So if we find that if we want to know the tochen of the Chag, then from one aspect we can find out dafka from this mitzvah that establishes the whole gather of the Yom, of the day, that it is a Yom Mishteh. It doesn't say Yom Megillah. It doesn't say it's a Yom, it does say Purim, Yom Purim, which the name of the Chag, which we didn't get yet to, which also is a Pele. But in terms of mitzvahs, it doesn't say Yom Megillah, it doesn't say Yom Matanos La'evyonim, it doesn't say Yom Mishloach Manos, it says Yom Mishteh. That's how Chazal call it. What is the manner of fulfilling this mitzvah, as we all know? So we know what the Gemara says, that Chayav inish lipsumi bepuria ad delo yada benarur Haman levaruch Mordechai. That a person has to intoxicate himself in Purim, on Purim, until not knowing between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. This obligation is not a side part of the mitzvah of the Mishteh, says Rabbi Yoel, teaches us Rabbi Yoel, based on the Gemara in Halacha. Rather, this is the gather of the mitzvah. The gather of the mitzvah is to get intoxicated until not knowing ad lo yada. We have to establish what that means. Between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. And as the Rambam says in Hilchos Megillah, Ketzad chovat seuda zu. How is the obligation of the mitzvah this of this seuda, mitzvahs mishteh of Purim? Says the Rambam, sheyochal basar v'yetaken seuda na'a. He should eat meat and he should establish a beautiful meal. V'shoteh yain ad sheyishtaker. And he drinks wine until he gets intoxicated. He gets drunk, mishtaker. From this we understand, says Rabbi Yoel, that the chiyuv to get intoxicated is a din in the Mishteh, is halacha, is a law in how you fulfill the mitzvah of Mishteh Purim. And since the Mishteh has to be in such a way that one should drink wine ad lo yada ben arur Haman lebaruch Mordechai, from this we can understand that this is connected to the mahus, the nature of the entire Chag of Purim. What is Purim? Because we said, as Chazal said, that the gather of the Chag is Yom Mishteh, a day of Mishteh. Now there is a big tmiha, a big question is coming up, of course, that was asked by so many before us. If a person drinks to the extent that he cannot tell between Arur Haman and Baruch Mordechai, then this is not a drinking that typifies or represents Purim, because he lost distinctions about the most important inyanim of Purim. This is sound getting drunk. In details to the inyan of mitzvahs that the Chachamim established in holidays is to give praise and to give thanks and to celebrate HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the nisim, for the miracles that he performed with us. Each and every holiday in its own special way. Hanukkah, they established to light candles and to say Hallel. Purim, to read the Megillah, to send Mishloach Manos Ish L'Re'ehu, to give Matanos La'evyonim, and to make a Mishteh. And in light of that, the inyan of drinking, like all the other mitzvahs of the day, comes to thank Hashem for the greatness that Haman had completely experienced a downfall, and Mordechai merited to have a Yeshua, a salvation. Ahu Haman u'Baruch Mordechai. But if our drinking on Purim is in such a way that a person cannot tell the difference between Ahu Haman and Baruch Mordechai, this is not a Purim drinking. This is just getting drunk. The same way of thinking you can apply to the name of the holiday. Big wonder as well. The reason for the name Purim is, as it says in the Megillah, Al ken karu layamim ha'ele Purim al shem ha'pur. It's called Purim on the name of the pur shehipil Haman, that Haman drew. The lottery, the pur that Haman drew. And this requires an explanation, because the name of the holiday is supposed to express, seemingly, the salvation that happened on Purim, not the decree that Haman decreed upon the Jewish people through the lottery, through the pur. Is that a way to call it the nace of being saved from being annihilated? Is to call it by the worst thing, the pur that Haman drew to lashmid, la'arog, la'abed, God forbid, each and every person? So the name of Purim is called upon the decree that happened on Purim, not upon after the Yeshua, the salvation that happened on Purim. Unlike all the other holidays. Pesach, אשר פסח על בתי בני ישראל במצרים, בנוקפו את מצרים, סוכוס, בסוכוס הושבתי את בני ישראל. As we all know, Chanukah, Chanuk, Kaf-Hey, the rested, Chanukah. Manishtana, that we usually should ask on Pesach, we hear it asking on Purim. Manishtana on Purim. That is called Hashem HaPur, that Haman drew to destroy the Yid, the entire Jewish people. It's interesting that Purim, we will see, as we already ourselves learned before in Maimarim on Purim, and you heard before that is a strong connection, kimu v'mashikiblu, kiblu kiblu v'kimu kvar. And there's a connection between Purim and Matan Torah. That on Purim, we out of volition, with the Kabbalah Satorah was really completed on Purim. Because in Matan Torah, it was imposed one way or another, kafar aleim har kegigis, either through a divine revelation that in front of which we could not refuse the Torah, or if you want to call it more physical threat, imposition. But whatever it is, it was an imposition. It didn't come bilamata lamayla. Purim, there was a whole year of Mesiras Nefesh, out of choice, out of volition, came from Etzem HaNefesh of every Yid. So you see connection. That I just was thinking about it today or the other day, that there is a connection. Number one, I didn't see it written anywhere, so don't take it or leave it, that both Purim is not a Jewish name, it's a Parsi name. It's a Persian word. It's a lottery in Persian, Pur. And interesting that Aseret HaDibros also don't start with Lashon HaKodesh. It begins with an Egyptian word, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Also starts not with a Jewish name, a word. It's an Egyptian name, Egyptian word. Interesting. I want to know more about that. But he also, you see that there is something that was experienced on Purim that was even deeper than Matan Torah, but in both there was a Gilui of Etzem HaNefesh of Yidden, in which there was such achdus, to the extent that as they came to Mount Sinai, as you all know, it says, Vayichan Sham Ha'am, lo Vayachanu, Vayichan Lashon Yachid, singular, to denote that Keish Echad Belev Echad, as Rashi says. The unity, the oneness was outstanding of the Jewish people, which was outstanding, really outstanding. It was standing out other than all other campings that were in Machloikas, with all kind of opinions. Here we got to an utmost unity of the Jewish people as a result of the Gilui Ha'etzem HaYechida of every Yid. We are all Av Echad Lekulana, and we're all the same. And the same thing, it says in Purim, it says, we said V'kiblu, V'kibel, it says, we read V'kiblu, but it says V'kibel, Lashon Yachid, Kiblu HaYudim, Kibel HaYudim. They didn't accepted, but Lashon, everything, all the laws that were given already a while ago, which means in Matan Torah. But the term that is used in the Megillah is Lashon Yachid, singular, Kibel, even though the Yehudim, Kibel, all the Jewish people. So we reached a similar level and maybe even deeper of Achdus, because then we practically experience Mesiras Nefesh. In Matan Torah is Mesiras Nefesh theoretically. We got to Mesiras Nefesh, and the Mesiras Nefesh that they did experience was not voluntary when the soul left the bodies on each and every dibra that Hashem said. But Purim, a whole year they were standing in a mode of Mesiras Nefesh. Their life was under the threat of losing it. And they didn't let go of the Yiddishkeit, which if they did, they would be saved. In any case, in the Zohar, it says that Purim is called al Shem Yom HaKippurim. That Purim is called after Yom HaKippurim, Yom Kippur. So Yom HaKippurim and Purim are shayach one to the other, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Torah Or. And he explains that in both of them, Sai on Purim and Sai on Yom Kippur, Yom HaKippurim, in both there is the inyan of Goyrel. I think we will need 2 nights for this article. So I might have a possibility to continue learning it tomorrow night for those who are interested. But in any case, let's continue and see where we get to.
Kippur, the word
kapara,
Kippur
it comes
is Hebrew.
Yes.
And Purim is Persian.
Yes, it's because of Pur. It not comes from kaper, lechaper, it comes from Pur, which is
but why? How could they be connected if they
because just in terms of the letters, Yom HaKippurim is like the letters of Kepurim. Mm-hmm. So the Zohar says, pay attention, that Yom HaKippurim, you spell it like Kepurim, it's like Purim. that Yom Kippurim is like Kepurim. Oh, says the Zohar, well, there is a connection in Pnimius HaTorah, there is a connection. And you will see it's not only in Pnimius HaTorah. In any case, one of the obvious connections that you can make, and the Alter Rebbe points out in Torah Or, between Purim and Yom Kippur, Yom HaKippurim, is the inyan of Goral, of drawing a lot, lottery, a lot. On Yom Kippur, there is the Goral on the 2 seirim, the 2 goats, which one goes to be sacrificed and which one is going to be casted la'azazel. And Purim is al Shem HaPur, Hu HaGoral, as we learn in the Megillah. Purim is after the Pur, after the Goral, the Haman Jew. So in both Yom Kippur and Purim, there is the inyan of Goral, of drawing a lot. Yom Kippur is the highest and holiest day of the year, and therefore all sins are being atoned. And from this, we can understand that the inyan of Goral, of a lot, drawing a lot, that is very much connected with Yom Kippur, the end of Yom Kippur, expresses a very high level of godliness, of Elokus, from which kapara comes. So drawing a lot regarding Goral Lemaila, what Goral means, and the Rebbe will explain, Rabbi Yoel will explain, based on the Maimarim of the Rebbe as well, that we will quote Bezrat Hashem, that Goral, spiritually, the Inyan of Goral expresses a very high level of godliness from which forgiveness and atonement can come. Because in the regular order of cause and effect, what do you mean forgiveness? Every cause has an effect. One sin, he needs to be punished. Every pe'ula of action we do in this world has an effect. Good or bad, or neutral, whatever it is. But Yom Kippur is a day of Mechila and Kapara. And it's connected with Goral. Because Goral, drawing a lot, transcends the logical order of things. Transcends Tam V'das, as we will learn. So in terms of spiritually, what it represents a very high level of godliness, from where forgiveness and kapara, atonement, washing all the effects of the sins comes. From this is understood, from the correlation the Zohar makes between these two holidays, expressed through the similar name, is that also the girl of Purim indicates on a very high level of elokus, of godliness, that is connected with this day, similar to Yom Kippur. When, says Rabbi Yoel, is shayach to draw a goral, a lot? When in front of the person there are two equal objects, and a person cannot decide which one to take. So he casts a lot, and he decides whatever a cube or whatever he does, or he throws up a coin, and he draws a lot, and he says whatever it will, if it will be a tree, this, if it will be the other, that, and this is how it will, however it will show, that will be my decision. But they have to be exactly the same, because if they are different one from the other, and one object has a mila over the other, it's not shayach to lapil goral beneim, to draw a lot between them, because obviously the person will take the better thing in his eye, the one that has a mila over the other. This is not goral. The reason why the halacha, this is the same, for this reason, the halacha on Yom Kippur regarding the two seirim, the two goats, between which the goral is drawn on Yom Kippur, which one of them will go to a korban, which one Lazazel. The halacha is, Chazal established that these two, and the Torah establishes, that these two seirim of Yom Kippurim have to be equal, identical, b'maram, b'koma, b'damim. Meaning the way they look, the height, and their cost has to be identical. That you couldn't find one has a mila over the other. So now you have to make a goral, because you can't choose. Otherwise, if your mind finds a reason why A is better than B or B over A, then your mind forces you. And sometimes your mind is even bigger force than an external force. If you cannot make a decision logically and you use something to draw a lot between them, yeah, that's a goral. But in any case, at least they will be equal in the amount of positive and negative. You say they might be different, but at least you have to say that A had 5 advantages and 5 disadvantages, or 5 advantages and 4 disadvantages, and B had 5 advantages and 4 disadvantages. There were different disadvantages and advantages, but the numbers were the same. So at least in terms of Kamus, There has to be equality in one way or another, so the person logically cannot make a decision. There's no logical reason that will make him make a decision, A or B. You need to draw a line.
Okay, thank you.
Now we go deeper, okay? Keep up with me. When you're talking about two, we agree that in order to draw Goral, these things have to be equally, at least equally important, okay? Now Rabbi Yoel explained like this. When you are talking about equality between two things, you can imagine it in two ways. One way is a normal person, take a regular person, that eating and drinking are significant, a toifes makom. They are significant to him. So if there will be two different foods in front of him, one of them is tasty for him, the other one more than the other, then the tastier has a mila, as the Friedel says. It's surely that in this condition, lo shayach to apil goral. It's not shayach because he likes it more. Because a person knows for himself b'mei chafetz, what he desires, what he wants. He doesn't need to cast a goral. But when there will be two foods in front of him, that their taste is equal, and one does not have a priority over the other, then it's shayach to cast a goral, and according to the goral, to decide which one to take. This is one example of goral. Then there is another example. It's not a regular person, says Rabbi Yoel. This is, you take a person who is Adam Na'aleh, really whatever human being one of us should be, which is a higher man, mufshat u'meromam, is divested and exalted and higher from all inyanim gashmim of achila, shtia. He doesn't care about food. He cares about spiritual things, about ruchnis. So by such a person, the food, the taste of the food is not tefes makom klal. I saw it on Rabbi Yoel himself. I don't know if he noticed what he was eating. You could see that he's very often deep in thought about one thing or another. So in this case, it's true. And maybe that will support your position, Friedel, but from another perspective. That for such a person, take, if you talk about the food, the two kinds of food themselves, they are not the same. They're not the same in their taste. One of them is much tastier than the other, actually. The A is much tastier than the other. But in comparing A to B. But if you compare both of them to the person, who is the person whose sole interest is in Ruchnius, because of his roimemus, because this is an exalted, who is a person who is higher than these matters and investing his interest in these matters, they are mamash equal. He doesn't care. For him, it's the same, A or B, I don't know. Take whatever you choose, whatever you go says, I'll take, I'll eat. He is higher than these differences in their taste, to the extent that in comparison to him, for him, in relation to him, there is no difference between A and B, which means a shivyon, an equality between two things can be in two manners, or either because in truth they are equal, identical things, or they are not really identical, but legabe ha'adam, in relation to the person, because he is higher, very higher than both, they are equal. And so too, just as we understand this example of these foods in comparison to these two types of people, you can also say the same thing regarding the person who is a spiritual person. If you come to the higher person, the spiritual person, and you tell him, you know what? There is a realm in which stupid and wise really is the same. If you come to a person like this and you tell him, stupid or wise, chokhmah or shtus, are the same thing in a realm which is lemala min hasechel, obviously. There is a realm. Godliness is not sechel, is not intellect, not logic. Logic is a creation. So if you come to a person like this who is in his world, Chokhmah is Teufels Makom. The difference between Chokhmah and Shtus is Teufels Makom, big Makom, big space. For him, it's a big difference. His whole life is what's right, what's true, what's not true, what's right, what's wrong, what kosher, what's not kosher. It's all Talmid Chacham all day long. If whether it is Pnimius Torah or in Nigli the Torah, we always define between Kedusha, Klippa, kosher, not kosher, right, wrong. We constantly, like a Geiger machine, like radar. But when
He has the need to use his logic.
yeah, but when you place all these concepts relative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is Ein Sof, and completely exalted from all inyanim of world, not only this world, any world, spiritual, the highest world, then even what is considered to us like tov vera, good and evil, legabav, to that level, and please stay with us. Stay with us. We're not going to take you in the wrong pit, but stay with open-mindedness. Then on that level, even those things that are considered to us tov vera, good and evil, legabav, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they are completely insignificant. To the extent that tov and ra are mamash identical for him. The same thing, shavim. Legabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is no advantage to chokhmah on shtus, because both of them are nothing comparing to him, completely insignificant, like the romemus of the person. This point, explains Rabbi Yoel, represents the goyrel, is represented by the inyan of casting a lot, lottery. That just as by us, there is a place to cast a goyrel only when things are insignificant in relation to the person who is on a very high level, on a higher level, and Mimele, they are equal to him, he doesn't care. And therefore there is needed soirech, there is a need to cast a goyrel, because to him it doesn't matter at all. So too, imagine how much, if infinitely so, is mitzad romemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is exalted. We call him HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh means separate and exalted and way beyond and above. So all worlds, with all their pratim, all their details, and all their milas, their advantage, their chesrones, they are completely insignificant comparison to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Memele, they are totally equal, to the extent that you have to cast the goyrel in order to machriya, to make a decision. Because of themselves, their milas and their chesrones, their advantages and their disadvantages are not at all significant compared to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is also the connection between the inyan of Goyral on Yom Kippur and the Kapara on Yom Kippur. And first prefacing with a known question that our Chachamim were debating between themselves. What is the inyan and the purpose of mitzvahs? What's the purpose of a mitzvah? My matras a mitzvah. Is it what Chazal call לצורך גבוה, which means for a divine purpose, a certain divine purpose, לצורך גבוה, or it is for the benefit of the divine, of creations. What are mitzvahs for? Either for God or either for people? And we find regarding this sugya, this topic, statements from Chazal that seem very contradictory one to the other. On one hand, there are many statements of Chazal from which you can conclude that the avodah of man down here in learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, he tzorech gavoa, what is called tzorech gavoa, which means, and he brings the pasuk that Chazal quote from Echa Rabbah, he brings from Echa Rabbah on the pasuk, Va'ata yigdal in Bamidbar, Va'ata yigdalna koach Adnai. And the Medrash brings, what do you mean, Va'ata yigdalna koach Adnai? The power of Adnai should be greater now, should be expanded and made greater. Chazal say that al yedei avoda and kiyum Torah of mitzvahs, we add koyach in gvura shel maila. That's what the Medrash says. That when we do Torah and mitzvahs, we add koyach lemaila. In gvura shel lemaila, we add to the mightiness of above. In Hasidic terms, when we do mitzvahs and we learn Torah, do mitzvahs, and learning Torah is also a mitzvah, we add light, of course, in Atzilus, the spheres of Atzilus, and we do the opposite, chas v'shalom. We are poigim, we are blemishing this or that sphere of Atzilus, from where we nurture. And so too, the opposite. The sins are poigim, they are blemishing kivyachol lemaila. And he brings the pasuk here from Echa. The pasuk is not from Echa. The pasuk is from Dvarim. Tzur yeladcha teshi. You are weakening the rock that gave birth to you. Teshi means you're machlish. You are weakening the tzur that yeladcha. You are weakening the source that created you. What do Chazal explain in the Medrash Medrash Rabbah on Echa? שעל ידי החטאים ישראל מתישים כביכול כוח של מעלה. That through the chataim, through the sins, we are, so to speak, weakening the divine force above. And in Torah Kabbalah, we find different explanations how through an avera, certain avera blemishes this sphere or that sphere. So we see that our Torah and mitzvahs is letzorach gavoa, for a divine purpose, for a divine need, so to speak. But there are contradictory statements from Chazal that say, the Medrash says, וכי מה אכפת לו לקדוש ברוך הוא למי ששוחט מן הצוואר או מי ששוחט מן העורף? Chazal say in Bereshis Rabbah, you think Hashem really cares if you shecht an animal from the back of the neck or the front of the neck? You really think it matters to him? And therefore what? לא ניתנו המצוות אלא לצרף בהן את הבריאות. Are you kidding? You think you're adding something to God? Mitzvahs were given to purify people, you, to refine you, to purify you. So, from such statements that are very clearly against the first view, we learn that Chazal say that the holy end of mitzvahs is solely achverak for the sake of men. Letzaref b'eines habrios, to purify human being, to refine and purify. But regarding HaKadosh Baruch Hu, מה אכפת לו? Even today, so מה אכפת לך, you say in Israel, what do you care? Not your business. I don't care. You shecht from here, you shecht from there. It's not so. But lichora, in the system, it could be like that. And Rabbi Yoel adds that these words of the Medrash are making even more sense because it's self-understood that if you're making a comparison between how a servant serves his master by human beings and a Yid serves his master, serves HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when you're taking the example of a servant that serves a master, even if he's a king, or he's a human being, so in spite of his great mila as a master, sof, bottom line, he has things that he's missing. And therefore the Eved, the servant with his service, can add to the shleimus of his master. He does something that the master doesn't do, and that by that completes the will of the master, that in a way that the master doesn't have it without the service of the servant. Maybe he chops wood for him, whatever. This is not the case when you're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That it is pashut and barur that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is perfect, and the perfection of all, and not shayach any disadvantage and any need and any lack. And therefore, what is the need of avodas Adam? And in Hasidus, it is explained according to avodas HaKodesh, Rabbi Ibn Gabbai, that we are already brought many times, that really in godliness there are two levels. We're going to stop soon, but and conclude bli neder tomorrow night. But give me another few minutes. We do Mesiras Nefesh for Purim. This will be our Yotzei Mesiras Nefesh for Purim. In Hasidus, if they bring the avodas HaKodesh that really and explain that Elokus, in Elokus there are kivyachol two levels, two dargos. One is the way Hashem kivyachol constricted tzimtzem atzmo to be in relation to creation. In this level, on this level, creation has a value. The good things in creation are considered good to him, for him, and the bad things are considered bad. Why? Because in that level, on that level of godliness, of Elokus, the Nivraim are toifes makom. The Nivraim, the creations, have a significance. As a creator, the Nivraim, the creations, have a significance. And therefore, the actions have a significance. And when a person does a mitzvah, he does a good thing. And therefore, he deserves a sachar milamayla, a reward. And when he does an avera, he does a bad thing. And therefore, he deserves punishment milamayla. Even more than that, on that level of Elokus, which is like epitomized, it doesn't say it here, but really by Olam HaAtzilus, that is called, Adam HaElyon, that's how Hashem is relating to us, the 10 spheros and so on. Since on that level of godliness, the avoida of the Nivraim is significant, therefore it can also add or take away from godliness, from kedusha, from holiness. It depends on the actions of men. About this level, Chazal say that by doing mitzvahs, they are mosifim koyach b'gvura shel mala. They are adding strength in the strength of above. That means either there is an additional light in the world of Atzilus or less light in the world of Atzilus. Then there is this is the level, the lower level of Elokus, where when Elokus brought itself down, godliness brought itself down to be in relation to creation, to worlds. Base, there is a second level of godliness, as we met these two dagos in many Maimarim already, in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is higher than diminishing himself or lowering himself to creation. And on that level, creation is completely insignificant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's not shayach to say on that level that this is good or this is bad. Because comparing to that level of elokus, the entire creation, all worlds are ayin ve'efes mamash, as if they don't exist. So who talks about good, bad? What are you talking about? All the same. As it says in Hasidus at length, that the whole Metzius the Nivraim is shayach only after HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a tzimtzum and made space, so to speak, for a perspective of worlds. But before the tzimtzum, there's no room for creation. And since on that level there's no Metzius of creation, is completely insignificant, you cannot say that there is a difference between the good things in creation and the bad things in creation. Because on that level, the maisim of creations are not tofes makom at all, are totally insignificant. So you can take it on that level, don't faint, but you can say that in that case, if you follow this logic, the mitzvah is, so to speak, hasras erech. Mitzvah is worthless on that level, and avera is meaningless as well. And B'lshon HaKatuv, quoting Eov, Job, Perek Lamed Hei Pasuk Vav and Zayin, Im chaltata matif albo. Eov says, if you sin, what how you hurt God? You think you hurt him if you sin? Who are you? V'rabu pshayecha ma ta'aseh lo. Even if your sins are so many, what are you harming him? You're not touching him, you're not harming him. Im tzadakta ma titen lo. And if you are righteous, what can you give him that he doesn't have? What can you add to him? Oh, big righteous. You're insignificant. Or ma miyadcha ekach. What can he take from your hand that he doesn't have? You're totally insignificant in comparison to him. So from on that level, Tehillim, Kuf Lamed Tes, Kachashecha Ka'ora. The mitzvahs, light and darkness are the same. Mitzvahs and averos are the same. On that level, Chazal say that the whole inyan are mitzvahs. So why mitzvahs? Why on this darga? Why you need mitzvahs? Doesn't matter tovera. So Chazal say letzarev b'nei sabrios, to refine people. This is not the ultimate answer, ladies. The ultimate answer will be Purim. It will be further on. So letzarev b'nei brios ad lo yada. The bottom line of this maimar will be that ad lo yada doesn't mean that we don't know the difference. It's we have to drink until we reach the level which is beyond yada, and from there to choose him, and from there he chose us. Haman thought he will, on that level, Haman thought he will win. That's why he made it, as we will learn, Chamishi Mama. Why? Because at that level, not only, he thought like this, was very smart. He thought, I'm giving you the whole happy end already. He thought, Haman thought, he was smart. He said, I'm going to get to Chamishim, Shara Chamishim. Moshe Rabbeinu got only to the Mem Tes Sha'ar Bina, only 49. He didn't get in his lifetime to the 50th gate. Haman said, I'll get to the 50th gate, ad the Loyada. There, no play of Baruch Haman, Aro Mordechai. Adrabah. Haman thought even more than 50-50, that there is 50 is the same, right? Doesn't matter. Aro Haman, Baruch Mordechai, doesn't matter on that level. Haman said, not only that, more chance that I will win than him, because if the inyan of that level is to show the romemus of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem, that for him is so high that Tov Ra doesn't play any difference for him, how do you express this level of elokus? Not if you give the Tov, if you bless Mordechai. That might hint that maybe you did it for a reason, that Mordechai is better in your eyes, or whatever it is. Adrabah, if you choose, Haman knew very well that if you that no way, no matter you take the worst Yid, the base Goy will not, is lower than him. That's what the Rebbe said, actually. So Haman knew that, and there's no chance. But Dafka on that level, there's more chance to him, because how can Hashem express that it is such a high level that they are the same? By Dafka giving the bracha to Haman, giving the success to Haman. That will express that level even most. Right? The most. He said, it makes sense to me that I have more chance to win if I get to that level. Because Dafka by giving the bracha to me, the success to me, the nitzachon, the victory to me, that will show how high Hashem is. That he doesn't care about good and bad. And this was his downfall. Because Hashem showed what was revealed, that Dafka on that level that doesn't require preferring him at all. Hashem from that level chose the Yidden. Hashem for that level chose the mitzvot and the Torah. Not because they're milos, because it's for the essence of Hashem through Bchira, and which the Rabbi Yoel will discuss. The difference between Goral and Bchira, and to understand what was so special about Purim, that Hashem chose us from such a deep, deep, deep level that we and him are so one. And therefore the light of Purim will never disappear, will never lose its significance, its outstanding shine, even in the Geula Mitzvah Shlema. But in the expressions of the Kabbalistic / Hasidic expressions of the Geula, the state of mind of Geula, the state of the world of Geula, the state of godliness of Geula, and the lights of godliness in Geula, is the Yichud, Sobev, and Memaled, like the way the Rebbe Rashab presented in Samach Vav, in the beginning of Samach Vav. That Memale is that system that is governed by Chokhmah. And the external aspect of Chokhmah is logic, Tam V'das. And we are confined to a system of logic. And we are satisfied when we get a logical explanation. And we are dissatisfied when we don't get a logical explanation, which means that in this case, it's a very powerful tool of expression that we are playing with all the time, tool that we have, a mental tool that we have, the intellect. But it's only a garment to the soul. It's only a levush to the nefesh. We have to see to it that we are not only confined to the limitations of Seichel, because Seichel is only follows the course of nature, the course of cause and effect. There is higher, there is lower, there is closer, there is further, there is right, there is left. This is chalkus, the limitations, differentiation, so on and so forth. That's shayach to the realm of Or HaMemale, of the light of Hashem that is internalized in each and every world, so it can be revealed and make sense and be internalized by the Nivaim of each world that have consciousness, whether they're angels or neshamos or people. Then there is Or HaSoivel. There is a way Elokus is without a garment. We also, our soul, you cannot make an equation, in algebra, soul equals intellect. It's not true, it's not a correct equation. Soul is deeper and higher than intellect. Intellect is a limited system. Soul is, and even there are different aspects of the soul. I'm not even talking about of the soul, it is mamash God, godly. Part of God. It's not even a source of life, or anybody. Not specific body, not general bodies, not a source of life altogether. But even the soul generally, the soul itself transcends seichel, transcends intellect. And therefore, and even the pneumius of an intellect already is bounded with, is touching the experience of seeing Elokus. Therefore, from higher than seichel, there's seeing Elokus, there's nevuah, ruach hakodesh, there's nevuah, these winged beings. You're not even seeing a locus. They are one. You're experiencing from Das Elyon, from divine experience. The soul is way, 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 way incomparable to the intellect. The intellect is only a garment to the soul. And we have to unite both. That the essence soul itself should shine through the intellect. And that's an avoida. And Adar of Purim helps us to do it through the year, that we should bring and be able to integrate and unify that which is beyond, and our connection to Hashem, which transcends way, way beyond seichel and beyond logic, and comes from a place that is not imposed by anything except for the fact that the essence of a Jew wants and chooses the essence of God, not for any reason. And we have proven it time and time again. Time and time again. And it's about time that Hashem should accept all our proofs, that time and time again we gave out our blood, our souls, our bodies, everything that he wanted, to show that we chose him no matter what. No matter what, in our generation as well. And it's time for the Geula Amitis Vashlema. So this Purim, we should celebrate with Esther,
Amen.
with Mordechai, the Beis Hamikdash,
Amen.
Shlishi,
Amen.
Vamishulash, and all these dargos of Elokus, Etzem Elokus will be revealed totally in a manner of Techazena Einenu.